Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are all safe and sound at home and hopefully enjoying your time with your family during this holy month. Okay, so as you can see, today we're going to do a writing practice. But before we start, let me ask you a question. Do you remember what we did previously? We have done 4 written works. The first one was how to write a recipe. The second one, we discussed the eating habits in Algeria. Then we talked about table manners in Islam. And of course, we have seen other table manners around the world. And then we talked about citizenship. Today, we're going to talk about 2 other new topics, which are charity works and cultural globalization. Okay, let's start. Okay, so written work number 5, charity works. I'm going to read the situation of integration and explain things for you. So charity is a great act that promotes responsibility and collaboration between people within any society. Okay? For a society to move on, we need people to promote charity works. Yet today, Algerian youth seems indifferent towards the needy. We said that the needy are poor people. And we see that a lot of Algerian teenagers or young adults, they seem to neglect this aspect of society. Okay? Now, write an article for your school magazine in which you sensitize your schoolmates to volunteer in charity works. Okay, so you are at school and you're conducting a project in order to raise awareness among your classmates. Use linking words, first conditional and the imperative. Now, this is your layout. Hold on. Okay, so this is your layout. So for your layout, it's a guideline that you have to follow in order for your article to be meaningful. Here, you're going to write the title. Then you have the first paragraph, introduction. The second paragraph, you have your development. You may write other paragraphs. It doesn't have to be only one paragraph. And then you have your third paragraph, which is your conclusion. And then what you write at the end, magazine's name, date of publication at the bottom of your article. The article should be written in form of columns. When you write an article, you don't write paragraphs. It should be in columns, 2 columns. Like when you open a magazine and you find an article, it's written in the form of columns. Okay? Okay, so this is my model answer. The joy of giving. Charity, this is just my model answer. We're going to read it together, discuss it, and then you can write your own. Charity is one of the noblest tasks that man can do in his life, because the latter means the joy of giving. When you give, you feel something, you feel joy. Okay? When you engage in acts of charity, you will feel contented and proud of yourself. Okay? You are proud of yourself because you help another person. Today, the Algerian community is in a greater need of charity, especially in this lockdown. I see a lot of teenagers or young adults, they are raising campaigns and they are helping others in different ways, which is really something special. The gap between the rich and the poor is getting larger, okay? We have thousands of diseased homeless, and starving men, women, and children. It's a fact and it's the truth, okay? If you contribute something in terms of money, food, clothes, or even empathy, our community will definitely be better off. When I talk about charity works, it doesn't mean you have to give money away. You can give food, clothes, whatever you can. Or just empathy, you feel compassion about another person than yourself. That's an act of charity. It does not necessarily mean that one has to be a billionaire to show charity. No. Even simple actions like feeding a poor man for a day or teaching a poor kid are acts of charity. especially during this holy month, if you can feed another human being, it's an act of charity. If you can teach a poor kid doesn't go to school, that's an act of charity as well. You can even engage in charitable services at your own school. For instance, collect school stuff and clothes for students. You raise a campaign where you collect used clothes or used stuff, and then you give them away. It's an act of charity. So in need and participate in humanitarian and environment activities. Every person can do his own bit, and it would definitely make some difference in another person's life. Okay? If we all work together, I'm sure we can make a difference, a huge one. So this is the title of my magazine, School Magazine, simple title. And then I have the dates of publication, 26th April 2020. Okay? So this was for the charity work, written work number 4. Let's move on to the last one. Okay, do not sign your name during your final exam. Just a reminder, if you have this topic on your BM exam, do not sign your name. Now, written work number 6, cultural globalization, situation of integration. Many people think that cultural globalization is a new kind of colonialism, which represents a real threat to national identities and cultures across the world. Here we're going to talk about how we are impacted about Western culture and things like that, okay? So write an open letter to the Algerian youth in which you weigh up the pros and cons. When I say pros, it means the advantages, cons, disadvantages of cultural globalization. Of course, it has advantages and disadvantages. Express your point of view and give advice to young citizens on how to protect their national identity and culture, because that's important. That's important to be proud. Being Algerian, I should be proud of being Algerian, okay? All right, so use the imperative, the first conditional. According to the Merriam-Webster, an American online dictionary, it's a really famous American online dictionary, a letter is defined as a direct written statement addressed to an individual or an organization. Okay? We have two types of letters. There are two types of letters, i.e. formal letters and informal letters. The formal letter is written for business or professional purposes. It uses simple language that can be easy to read and interpret. This is the formal letter. The informal letter, on the other hand, is written to friends and relatives for personal communication and uses a casual or an emotional tone. You can say hello, hi. You can use a certain language that you cannot use in the formal letter. Now, situation, body of the letter. In your situation, what do you have? You're going to write the date. You're going to write an open letter to the Algerian youth. Dear friends, introduce the topic of the letter in the form of a question, weigh up the pros and cons, express your point of view, conclude with the real purpose of your letter, being concerned about the national identity and culture, list some recommendations, and for the closing, you have thank you for reading, and then you have signature. Name and signature, do not sign your name at the end. This is my model answer. I have the date, I have the title, an open letter to the Algerian youth. Dear friends, cultural globalization is a modern phenomenon that has been invading the world for the last decades. It can be demonstrated in all sorts of life aspects, including clothing, food, media, and education as well. However, some people believe that it represents a threat to national identities and cultures across the world. Are these people right or wrong? Is cultural globalization a threat or a blessing? So this is my introduction. My body. If you don't do any research about this topic, you will never know. Firstly, it's a way to spread modern ideas and values around the world. This is clearly illustrated through the use of social media. Secondly, it allows countries to expand their culture and make it accessible to all, and this can be seen in the context of fashion, gastronomy, and technological inventions. On the other hand, cultural globalization is constantly promoting the Western culture at the expense of other cultures. Personally, I think that cultural globalization helps people to become open-minded and tolerant. However, we must adopt only what is acceptable and reject all what may harm our principles and values. To conclude, it does not matter if our opinions on this issue are the same or different. What really matters is that we are all concerned about the preservation of our national identity and culture. And then, thank you for reading. This was just a model answer. You can take it down or take a photo and then write your own. I'll see you for the next episode, inshallah, and we'll be doing BM 2019. Thank you and take care.